She found it by accident. Beneath a plastic dinosaur and a crumpled superhero cape, the toy box whispered temptation. But Gloria Levy didn't flinch. She just stared, and then did something that changed everything. The smell of pancakes clung to the morning light in the Caesar estate. Franklin Caesar, dressed in his signature charcoal suit and surgical coldness, sipped espresso on the balcony overlooking the manicured garden. His son, Nathan, had already left his cereal half-eaten, bouncing off to play in his room, his innocent laughter echoing down the marble halls. Franklin didn't smile. He hadn't in years. He was a man of empire, not emotion. People lied, cheated, stole, especially when you let them too close. He'd learned that the hard way, through lovers, through friends, through blood relatives, which is why he devised a test. Downstairs, Gloria Levy folded Nathan's laundry with quiet precision. The boy's tiny socks, his superhero bedsheets, his crayon drawings stuck to her apron with static. She hummed while she worked, an old tune her grandmother used to sing on sticky Louisiana nights. She never slacked, never snooped, never even sat unless invited. But Franklin had been watching. 3 months. 3 months of her kindness with Nathan, of her long hours, of her discipline. She seemed too good. Everyone has a breaking point, he muttered to himself that morning. Even her. So that evening, while Nathan was at school and Gloria was dusting the study, Franklin entered his son's room. He opened the red plastic toy box with its scratched-up Spider-Man stickers. Inside, he layered crisp $100 bills, stacks of them under Nathan's toys, covered them with Legos and tiny dinosaurs. He wasn't just testing her honesty, he was testing human nature. The next morning, Gloria walked into Nathan's room with a basket of folded clothes and a gentle, "Morning, baby." But Nathan wasn't there, just the toys, the silence, and that little red box that sat crooked, half open. She bent to straighten it, tucking the dinosaur back in, when her hand brushed something else. Bills. Hundreds. Neatly bundled. She froze. Her breath caught in her chest as the room seemed to still. A single bird called out in the garden beyond the window. She stared at the cash for a long, still second, and then she closed the lid, locked it shut, and whispered, "Not mine." She finished folding the clothes, kissed Nathan's picture frame on the dresser, and walked out. What she didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that this moment was about to rewrite their lives. Franklin watched the footage 3 times. His office smelled of Cuban leather and cold distrust, the security monitor glowing like a confession booth. He had asked the head of house staff to set up a discreet camera in Nathan's room, just one, just enough to see if she'd take the bait. And now, there it was. He leaned forward, eyes narrowed. Gloria bent over the toy box. Her hand touched something. She paused. Long pause. His heart ticked like a metronome. This was the moment, but she didn't take it. She didn't pocket a bill. Didn't even lift one out to count. Instead, she whispered something. He couldn't hear it, and gently shut the lid, as if it offended her to see money out of place. Franklin sank back into his chair, brows furrowed. Why didn't she take it? People always take it. Gloria had no idea she was being watched, that there was a test, that the very walls in that house had been enlisted to judge her. She just knew she couldn't stop thinking about Nathan, his giggle when she made him peanut butter pancakes, how he called her Glow when he was too sleepy to say her name properly. She thought about how that little boy trusted her more than anyone else in the house, and that's why later that afternoon she knocked gently on Franklin's office door. He didn't expect her. Certainly not like this. She hesitated. "I think Nathan might have gotten into something by mistake." Franklin looked up, careful not to reveal anything. "Oh?" he asked evenly. She clasped her hands. "I opened his toy box while I was putting his laundry away, and—" She stopped herself, frowning. "There's money in there, a lot. I didn't touch it, but I thought you should know." Franklin stared at her, not blinking, not speaking. She shifted, uncomfortable. Maybe it's not my place to say." He finally spoke. "No, it's good that you did." But inside, his world tilted a little. For the first time in years, he didn't feel in control. She hadn't just passed the test, She'd confessed the very thing she could have hidden. That level of honesty? It wasn't just rare, it was disarming. And it terrified him. You're feeling this, aren't you? The tension, the truth. We put our soul into stories like this. So if you're watching, if you've made it this far, don't just sit there. Hit that subscribe button, you know you should. Franklin didn't mention the money again. The next day, he passed Gloria in the hallway and simply nodded. No thank you. No confrontation. No acknowledgement that she'd handed back a fortune without blinking. Gloria noticed. She didn't expect applause, but something inside her had hoped for something. Even disapproval would have made more sense than this cold, echoing silence. She busied herself with chores, folding sheets, chopping vegetables, keeping Nathan entertained with puzzles and bedtime stories. But Franklin's quietness spread through the house like fog. The test was over, but the tension had only just begun. Franklin told himself he had no reason to say more. She'd passed. That should have been enough. And yet, at night, he found himself re-watching the footage. Not just the moment she shut the toy box, but the way she looked around the room afterward, like she was praying or remembering something painful. He didn't like how that made him feel. So he doubled down on routine, meetings, stock projections, phone calls he didn't need to make. Anything to push her out of his mind. But she kept showing up, the sound of her humming in the kitchen, the quiet grace in how she handled Nathan, the way she looked at people, not as what they could give her, but as who they were. She was unsettling him, because she made him want to believe in goodness again. And that was dangerous. That Thursday evening, Gloria found an envelope on the kitchen counter with her name written in Franklin's sharp handwriting. Inside, a check, large, obscenely so, 3 months' pay, just handed over like it meant nothing. She stared at it for a long time. No note, no message, just money. Was this a reward? A thank you, or worse, a payment to make sure she stayed quiet? She walked up to his office and knocked softly. He opened the door, tie loosened, eyes tired. I found the envelope, she said, holding it out. Yes, he said. It's yours. She looked him in the eye. Why now? A beat. He looked away. You earned it. There was something hollow in his voice, like the truth sat somewhere behind his ribs, too heavy to lift. Gloria hesitated. If this is about the money in the toy box— It's not, he cut her off. You did your job. That's all. And with that, he gently closed the door, leaving her in the hall, and himself in silence. It started with a cough. Nathan had been fine all morning, playing with his toys, giggling at Gloria's silly lion impressions during story time. But by noon, his energy dipped. His cheeks were flushed, his appetite gone. Gloria noticed before anyone else. By evening, he had a low-grade fever. The family pediatrician advised rest and fluids, but Franklin insisted on observation. We'll keep him at home, he said, pacing the room. I'll rearrange my meetings. I can stay the night, Gloria offered quietly, kneeling by Nathan's bed. He's used to me. It might help him rest. Franklin hesitated, but only for a moment. Fine. And just like that, Gloria stayed. The guest suite next to Nathan's room was prepared for her, but she hardly used it. Instead, she dozed upright in the armchair by Nathan's bed, cool rag in hand, reading softly from his favorite picture books. Franklin surprisingly lingered. He pulled up a chair on the opposite side of the room. At first, he said nothing, just watched his son's breathing. But as the hours stretched on, the silence softened. Around 1 a.m., Gloria stood to go grab more ice water. She swayed slightly, just a second, but Franklin noticed. You've been up longer than me, he said, standing too. She blinked. I've done worse. His voice softened. Still. Sit. I'll go. She blinked at him. The man who couldn't say thank you now offering to fetch water in the middle of the night. She sat, and as he returned, 2 glasses in hand, she smiled, not out of flirtation, but surprise. Didn't think you knew where the kitchen was, she teased gently. He almost smiled. I make coffee, he muttered. Expensive coffee, I bet. She took the glass. Their fingers brushed briefly. Neither pulled away immediately, and neither mentioned it. At some point Nathan stirred and called for her. "Glow." She rushed to his side, wiped his forehead. "I'm here, baby." Franklin watched. Her tenderness, the way she soothed his son with nothing but a whisper and a hand on his chest. He didn't say it, but for the first time, watching her with Nathan, he felt something foreign bloom in his chest. Gratitude and admiration. It scared him. At this point, what do you think he should do? Keep hiding behind his pride, or follow what his heart is clearly starting to feel? Drop your thoughts in the comment. The next morning, as light poured into Nathan's room and his fever finally broke, Franklin stepped into the doorway and just looked at her. Gloria, eyes tired, hair messy, cradling Nathan's head as he drifted into calm sleep. She looked up at Franklin, her voice a whisper. "He's okay now." He nodded slowly. But what he didn't say, what he didn't know how to say, was this: "You're not just saving my son, you're saving something in me." The fever had broken, but Gloria stayed close to Nathan throughout the day, mostly reading, sometimes just sitting with him while he dozed. Franklin remained quiet, unusually so. He spent more time near them than in his office, often lingering in the doorway. By sunset, Nathan was awake and hungry again. Gloria prepared soup. Franklin insisted on helping. He wasn't good at it. "Carrots go in first," Gloria said, biting back a laugh as he dumped in the noodles prematurely. "Why?" he asked, genuinely curious. She shrugged, stirring. "It's what my mama did. Said carrots need time to soften, just like people." He looked at her, longer than necessary. "What was she like?" Gloria blinked. It had been years since anyone asked her that. "She was tough," she said slowly. "Worked 2 jobs. Raised us by herself. Used to say, 'Dignity don't come from what you wear. It comes from what you refuse to touch.'" She glanced at him. "I guess that's why I left that toy box alone." Franklin's chest tightened. "You ever wonder," she continued, "how different your life would have been if one moment had gone the other way?" He swallowed. "Every day." She looked at him now. Really looked. "What about you? What made you so cautious?" The question hung in the air. He could have laughed it off, changed the subject, but something cracked open in him. "My ex-wife," he said finally. "Nathan's mother. She didn't leave us. She just stayed for the money." Gloria's eyes softened. She didn't love Nathan. She tolerated him, used him to negotiate. A pause. "When we divorced, she tried to sue for custody, not because she wanted him, but because she thought it would increase her settlement, said she'd drop the fight for an extra $1 million. Gloria's hand went still over the pot. Franklin's jaw clenched. "I didn't trust anyone after that, not friends, not staff. I had to be 10 steps ahead." He met her gaze. "So when I hired you, I told myself, people like you don't work without an angle. I'm sorry for that." Gloria didn't speak right away. Then, "People like me." He froze. "I know what you meant," she said gently, not angrily. "But you were wrong." She stirred the soup. "I don't have an angle, Mr. Caesar. I just have bills, and a boy who calls me Glow. That's enough for me. If this scene hit you in the gut, even a little, then don't just watch, subscribe. We tell real, raw stories here. Be part of something that means more than just views." That night, Franklin stood outside Nathan's room, listening to Gloria hum softly as she tucked the boy in. She had every reason to walk away from this job, from him, but she stayed, and in that moment, for the first time in decades, he wished someone would stay, not because they were paid to, but because they wanted to. Nathan was finally well enough to run. He raced barefoot across the Caesar estate lawn with a paper airplane in hand, laughing as the wind caught it. Franklin sat on a bench nearby, suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, watching but more importantly smiling. Gloria stood beside him, arms crossed loosely, a rare lightness in her face. "I don't think I've ever seen you smile," she said. He looked at her. "I forgot I knew how." She raised an eyebrow. "So it was just buried under all that suspicion and Armani?" He chuckled, actually chuckled, and shook his head. Maybe. There was a pause, not awkward, but full. I was wrong about you, Gloria. She didn't respond at first, just looked at Nathan. Thank you, she said finally. That means more than you know. He studied her face for a moment, the quiet strength, the calm way she carried herself, even when everything in life pushed against her. Why don't you ever ask for more? He asked suddenly. She turned to him. What do you mean? I see the way you work, the hours, the care. You're not like the others. You could have demanded more, you never did. She thought for a second. Because if I did, you'd think that was the angle. He blinked. That's the trap, isn't it? She continued. People expect less from people like me, and when we don't ask, we're invisible. And when we do, we're a threat. Franklin's throat tightened. I don't want you to be invisible. Something in the air shifted. They sat in silence for a while, watching Nathan throw the airplane again and again. Then Gloria said softly, You ever wish you could start over with someone, not romantically, just as a person? Just say, Hi, I'm Franklin. I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. He looked down at his hands. Yeah, she smiled. Then maybe start with, Hi, I'm Franklin, and I was wrong about you. He turned to her and said, Hi, I'm Franklin, and I was wrong about you. She laughed, genuinely, deeply, and for the first time it didn't feel like they were boss and maid. It felt like two souls who had been strangers to each other, and even to themselves, finally beginning to see. The storm didn't come from the sky. It came from a voice, a sharp, brittle one that Franklin hadn't heard in nearly 2 years. Vanessa, his ex-wife. She appeared at the estate unannounced, stilettos clicking across marble like gunshots. Her smile was polished, her tone sharp. I've come to see my son, she declared at the front door. Nathan froze behind Gloria, shrinking. Franklin stepped into the foyer, eyes already hardened. You said you never wanted to see him again. Vanessa's smile faltered, then sharpened. Let's not play hero, Franklin. I want a visit. One day, that's all. No, Franklin said without hesitation. Gloria watched quietly, instinctively pulling Nathan behind her. Vanessa's eyes fell on Gloria. Her voice dripped. Oh, the maid? You've got the help babysitting now? Gloria held her tongue, but Nathan whimpered, clinging to her leg. She's not just the help, Franklin snapped. Vanessa arched a brow. Oh, she's got a new job title then. Silence. Gloria looked at Franklin. Something unspoken passed between them, and Vanessa saw it. She smirked. Oh, of course. This is your new plaything. Gloria stiffened. Franklin's fists clenched, but he said nothing. Not yet. And that silence was a choice. Gloria gently moved Nathan into the other room, then returned. Calm, but with fire behind her eyes. You should go, she told Vanessa firmly. Vanessa laughed. And who are you two? I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one who trusts. Vanessa stepped closer. Franklin, tell your maid to back off. But Franklin said nothing, and that silence again was louder than any defense. Gloria turned slowly toward him. Say something. He opened his mouth, closed it. Too late. The moment cracked wide open. I see, Gloria whispered. You only defend me when it's convenient, when she's not watching. She shook her head, the pain too close to the surface now. You know what hurts, Franklin. Not what she said, but that you didn't stop her. He stepped forward. Gloria. She stepped back. I cleaned your house. I cooked your son's meals. I held him through a fever. And I stood by you when you were learning how to be human again. Her voice broke. But the minute someone from your world walked in, you shrank. You left me hanging, like I was exactly what she said I was. She turned away. Nathan peeked around the corner, confused, sensing something had shattered. Franklin's voice came too late. Gloria, wait. She didn't. She grabbed her things, kissed Nathan on the forehead, and whispered, I love you, baby. Then she walked out the door. And for the first time in a long time, Franklin Caesar felt what it meant to be truly alone. The house was too quiet without her. Franklin sat at the edge of Nathan's bed, the soft hum of the monitor casting pale light over the boy's face. Nathan was asleep, but his small fingers still clutched the stuffed lion Gloria had given him. That lion hadn't left his side since she walked out. Neither had Franklin's guilt. He replayed the moment in the foyer again and again. Vanessa's venom, Gloria's courage, and his silence. He had been tested, not by money, not by deception, but by loyalty. And he'd failed. He buried his face in his hands. Across town, Gloria sat on the edge of her twin mattress in a tiny apartment that smelled like lavender and old hope. She held a folded piece of paper, Nathan's drawing, a stick figure version of her, labeled Glow, with a sun shining behind her head. In a crayon scrawl, I love you forever. She pressed the paper to her chest. She had worked so hard to stay invisible, to stay safe, to never expect too much. But Franklin had made her believe she could matter, that she could be seen. And in the moment when it counted, he chose silence. Her phone buzzed. One message. From him. I was a coward. You were right. I'm sorry. She stared at it. Nothing else, just that. Franklin didn't sleep that night. He didn't eat, didn't pace. Just sat in the garden where she once stood with Nathan, showing him how to catch butterflies. At sunrise, he returned to the toy box, the same one he'd used to test her character. He opened it. The money was still there, untouched, but now it felt meaningless. He gathered the stacks into a bag, drove 2 hours to a local community center, made the donation anonymously, in Gloria's name. Then he drove to her apartment. Gloria heard the knock and froze. She didn't open it at first. She just stood there, heart racing. And then, slowly, she turned the knob. Franklin stood in the hallway. No suit, no coldness. Just a man holding a grocery bag in one hand and a lion plushie in the other. I brought dinner, he said quietly. She looked at the bag, then back at him. Silence. Then, why are you here, Franklin? He swallowed. Because I'm done choosing silence. A beat. I was wrong, again. And not just about the toy box, or Vanessa. I was wrong about thinking trust had to be tested, that love had to be earned. You've given both freely, and I didn't know how to accept that. He held out the lion. Nathan misses you, but not as much as I do. Gloria stepped aside and let him in. No dramatic music, no kiss, just a quiet inhale of something that felt real. Franklin placed the grocery bag on the kitchen counter. I made soup, he said. Carrots first, like your mama taught you. She almost smiled, but it broke halfway into a tear instead. He took a step closer. I'm not asking you to forget what I did, or how I failed you. She looked at him, really looked. But I'm asking if you'll let me try again, as a man, not a boss. She crossed her arms, tighter but not defensive. Why now? He exhaled. Because when you left, I realized I wasn't afraid of losing your work. I was afraid of losing you. Her voice cracked soft. I'm not a lesson, Franklin. I know, he said. You're a miracle, a beat, and I'll spend however long it takes proving I'm worthy of it. 2 weeks later, Gloria was back at the estate, not as a maid, but as Nathan's official caregiver. That was her request. She wanted to be there for the boy, not under anyone's command. Franklin agreed, without negotiation. Nathan ran into her arms the moment she returned. You came back, he whispered. She hugged him tightly. I never really left. That evening they sat under the stars in the garden. Franklin brought out the toy box, cleaned out, empty. I wanted to show you something, he said. He opened the lid, and inside was a folded sheet of paper. Nathan's drawing, the one she had kept. He had framed it. I found this in your old laundry basket, he said. I thought it should come home. She smiled, tears clinging to her lashes. And then, under the twilight, Franklin reached out, not to kiss her, not to hold her. but to sit beside her, as equals, as people choosing each other, not because they had to, but because against all odds they wanted to. Do you believe true love can survive even after being tested this hard? If you've ever had to choose between pride and connection, tell us in the comment. We read everyone. And if this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Subscribe. Not for us, for the next story that finds your heart when you least expect it.